So the Red Wings made a trade yesterday, and it caught me off guard a little bit. The full details of the trade: the Detroit Red Wings have sent goaltender Ville Husso to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for good old future considerations. Now, it's no secret that Ville Husso's tenure with the Red Wings did not go well. The Red Wings traded for his rights before free agency in 2022 and then signed him to a 3-year deal. He ended up playing 56 games in his first season with the Red Wings, and the first few months of that first season, he actually did pretty well, but after those first few months, things went downhill fast, and after Ville Husso's first season with Detroit, he dealt with multiple injuries and was never really healthy long enough to find any kind of consistency. Now, at the start of this season, the Red Wings actually did give Husso another opportunity to kind of take the ball and run with it. He was the Red Wings opening night starter, but that did not last, and before long, Ville Husso found himself as the number 3 goaltender on the Red Wings depth chart. He has started the majority of his games this season in the American Hockey League, so it does make sense that the Red Wings would want to move on from Ville Husso. I mean, the guy was the highest paid goaltender in the organization, and yet he was in the AHL. But the reason this trade caught me off guard is because Ville Husso is in the final year of that 3-year deal he signed with the Red Wings. He will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Given his injury history and his level of performance over the last year and a half, and the fact that he has a cap of $4.75 million, I really didn't think there would be a team out there willing to take this contract off the Red Wings' hands, unless of course the Red Wings would be willing to attach a sweetener, a draft pick, a prospect, or something like that. I really thought the most likely outcome here was that Ville Husso would ride out the remainder of the season in the American Hockey League, and the Red Wings would just let his contract expire at the end of the season. But that is obviously not what happened. Ville Husso is now a member of the Anaheim Ducks, and the Red Wings did not have to attach a sweetener or retain any salary to get the Ducks to take on the remainder of Ville Husso's contract. Little spoiler alert here: the future considerations that the Red Wings acquired here will not amount to anything. This was basically a trade where the Red Wings said, "Do you want this guy?" The Ducks said, "How much?" The Red Wings said, "Free," and the Ducks said, "Sure." Now, before we go any further talking about the Red Wings, I want to talk about the Ducks side of this trade for a second, because on the surface, it literally just looks like Anaheim is doing the Red Wings a favor. My first thought when I saw this trade is maybe Anaheim anticipates moving John Gibson at or leading up to the trade deadline, and they wanted to bring in a veteran goaltender with NHL experience in Ville Husso to serve as a backup to Lucas Dostal for the remainder of the season. Getting back to the Red Wings, though, we'll talk a little bit about how this trade impacts their cap situation. So by making this trade, the Red Wings clear up $3.6 million. It's not the full $4.75 million of Ville Husso's cap hit, because they were already saving $1.15 million by having his contract buried in the AHL. I know cap logistics can get confusing at times, especially leading up to the trade deadline, so I wanted to read a few tweets here from Puckpedia to hopefully make things a little bit easier to digest. After trading Husso and saving $3.6 million annual cap hit, the Red Wings now have $3 million projected cap space. This can fit $14 million in annual cap hit at the deadline. At the deadline, there is 22% of the season remaining, so if Detroit adds $14 million of a cap hit that day, it will only be on their cap for $14 million, the 22% of the season remaining, which equals the $3 million of projected cap space they have for the season. So my whole thing when it comes to this trade is, does Steve Yzerman plan on doing anything with the cap relief from this trade? Does he plan on making a big splash at or leading up to the trade deadline? Because if not, why make this move now? Why not just let Husso ride things out with Grand Rapids and have his contract expire at the end of the season? Now, there is a boring answer to that question, as there always is. The Red Wings save a bit of actual cash by making this trade and offloading Ville Husso's contract to Anaheim, and again, they didn't have to give up anything to do it. It's not like Ville Husso was playing a big role within the Red Wings organization. He wasn't even the starting goaltender in the American Hockey League. That job belongs to Sebastian Cossa, so why not give him away for free and save a bit of actual cash? So that's the boring answer as to why the Red Wings may have decided to make a move like this right now, but obviously the much more fun thing to do is speculate that this move could be a precursor to Steve Yzerman making a big splash at this year's trade deadline. Now, we actually got some more Red Wings news today that I think actually increases the odds of Steve Yzerman making a splash at this year's deadline. The Red Wings put out this update on Twitter just a few hours ago. Andrew Kopp underwent successful surgery today to repair his left pectoral tendon. He will miss the remainder of the 2024-25 season with an expected recovery time of 4 to 6 months. So obviously very unfortunate news. I've been hard on Andrew Kopp over the last few years. He just hasn't really lived up to expectations in Detroit, but that's not to say he is not a useful player better for the team, and I actually think he's been much better since Todd McClellan has taken over as the Red Wings head coach, like many others on the team have been. So the Red Wings are definitely going to miss him down the stretch. This now leaves quite a big hole for them down the middle in the top 9, and it kind of makes me wonder, if he wasn't already, is Steve Yzerman now going to be even more aggressive at the trade deadline, looking to improve this roster and give his team the best possible chance at finally getting back into the playoffs? The Red Wings really are in control of their own destiny right now. They hold the first wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference with 64 points in 57 games. However, the Red Wings do have the most difficult schedule remaining in the entire NHL based off of their opponent's points percentage, so they could definitely use some help. For those of you wondering how the Andrew Copp injury further affects the Red Wings cap situation, it really doesn't, even if they put him on LTIR. Shout out Puckpedia again. I'm going to read another one of their tweets here. With the Red Wings having $3 million of projected cap space and $14 million of deadline space, Copp going to LTIR is not an option to gain more cap space unless they first added $14 million of annual cap hit. LTIR allows a team to exceed the cap. Since they are well above the cap, Copp to LTIR would not provide any benefit. But even without Andrew Copp going on LTIR, the Red Wings still have a ton of cap space. They have the kind of space as to where they can do pretty much anything at the deadline this year. So what kind of moves could Steve Yzerman be looking to make, if any at all? I've been pretty vocal all season long about the fact that I don't think the Red Wings should be in the market for any rentals. I should say I don't think the Red Wings should be in the market for any of the big name rentals that are going to cost you a first round draft pick or one of your top prospects. If they want to add a little bit of depth to the team by giving up, a B-level prospect or a mid-round draft pick for a rental, that's not something I'd be opposed to. But I think if the Red Wings are really going to make a big splash and they're going to, say, trade a first round draft pick or trade one of their top prospects, it needs to be for a player with term left or a young player with team control. Like, say, for an example, like a Bowen Byram, who's an RFA at the end of the season and not a UFA. Those are the kind of players that I think Steve Yzerman should be targeting, guys that can come in and help you win now, help you in your push for the playoffs down the stretch, but also be a long-term option as well. The one name that I keep circling back on that I think makes a lot of sense for the Detroit Red Wings is Dylan Cozens of the Buffalo Sabres. Back in early January, in one of his written 32 Thoughts pieces, Elliot Friedman stated that he believes the Buffalo player the Red Wings were or are looking at is Dylan Cozens. Now, obviously, nothing ended up happening between the Red Wings and Sabres up until this point, and that written piece by Elliot Friedman was almost 2 months ago now, so if there was any talks between the Red Wings and Sabres about Dylan Cozens, things obviously fell through. But again, Dylan Cozens is a name that I keep circling back to and I keep bringing up as a potential trade target for the Red Wings, and I would be a huge fan if Steve Yzerman circled back as well and tried to get something done there. Dylan Cozens is a 24-year-old right shot centerman. He fits the timeline, he fits the age group of some of the Red Wings' other star young players like Raymond, Seider, and Edvinsson. Now, there is obviously a bit of risk involved in trading for a player like Dylan Cozens, whose offense has fallen off of a cliff over the last few seasons after his career year in the 2022-23 season, where he put up 31 goals and 68 points. That is the season which led to him signing a massive extension with the Sabres. He has a cap hit of $7.1 million and is signed at that number through the 2029-30 season. That's obviously a lot of money for a guy who has just 27 points in 55 games this season, but again, he's only 24 years old. He's shown in the past that he can be a very effective and very productive top 6 center, and especially with the salary cap on the rise, I'm really not all that worried about his contract. I think Dylan Cozens is a player that could use a change of scenery. I'm a believer in him. I don't think it's going to be long before he gets back to producing at the level he produced at in that 2022-23 season. Another player who I think makes a lot of sense as a trade target for the Red Wings, another member of the Buffalo Sabres, defenseman Bowen Byram. Byram is going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the season. He's coming off of a bridge deal, so he's likely going to be looking for a long-term extension. Is Buffalo going to be a team that's willing to give Byram that long-term extension, considering the fact that they already have left shot defensemen like Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power locked up long-term? I know all three of those defensemen are very versatile, and Byram especially can play on the right side, but long-term, is that ideal? If Byram is a player the Sabres are open to moving, then I think that's something the Red Wings should be all over. A top 4 of Edvinsson and Seider and Byram and Sandin Pellikka sounds pretty damn good. That's pretty much all I got for this one, though. I think I touched on pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. I know we talked about a couple of different things in this video, but as always, I want to know what you guys are thinking, so be sure to let me know your thoughts on any of the different topics we talked about in today's video down below in the comments. If you made it all this way to the end of the video and you ended up enjoying yourself, please remember to leave the video a like. It is the best way to let me know that you enjoyed, and it does actually help out the video's performance a ton. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this all year round, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all again soon.